Aliens have attacked Earth, and only 1% of people will survive on the planet. Yemen, in the middle of the desert, a Bedouin notices something falling from the sky and heading his way. His camels, sensing something ominous, scatter in fear. The man, puzzled by their reaction, approaches the object and discovers it's of extraterrestrial origin. Just as he reaches out to touch it, the object explodes, signaling a potential threat to humanity. Idabel, Oklahoma, Jim Bell Tyson, the town sheriff, is finishing his last day of a 45-year career. As he watches his name being scraped off the office door, he's saddened, unsure of what to do with his life after retirement. When he hears about a local farmer's stolen car, Jim takes it on as his last case. At the farm, while investigating, he spots a flock of crows circling above a cornfield. Climbing a tower for a better view, he sees something strange and decides to check it out. At the site, Jim finds a scorched circular area and the stolen car, abandoned with the thief's wallet still inside. He suspects something unusual is at play. Suddenly, a swarm of locusts attacks him, but his deputy saves him. Jim interviews local gang members and the girlfriend of one of the missing boys, convinced they wouldn't have just left without telling anyone. He hopes this case will be his legacy, having never felt he did anything memorable in his career. He once saved a little girl from a maniac, only for her to die in an accident the next day. Long Island, New York, Anisha and her husband Ahmed are Syrian refugees building a new life in America with their 2 children. While their kids are rehearsing for a school event, all the students except their son, Luke, suddenly get nosebleeds. The teacher rushes them to the hospital and calls the parents. Anisha, worried, takes her kids to a private clinic for a thorough checkup, but the doctor finds nothing wrong. At home, she notices strange power fluctuations with the lights flickering. More concerning, Ahmed's location shows he's not at work and isn't coming home. Anisha tracks him and discovers he's having an affair with a young blonde woman. She decides not to tell the kids, not wanting to upset them just yet. Hinata, a Japanese astronaut, is preparing for a year-long mission on the International Space Station, ISS. She's feeling sad about the long separation from Earth, missing the sunrise, and especially the person she loves. Before leaving, she places a star on the ceiling of her bedroom as a reminder. At NASA's base, Hinata hides her relationship with Mitsuki, a beautiful woman from the local spaceflight control department. Mitsuki, who checks the equipment, wishes her a safe journey, hoping the year will pass quickly. After a tearful farewell, Hinata departs for the ISS. Mitsuki watches the launch with tears in her eyes, praying for Hinata's safety. Back home, Mitsuki sees the glowing star on the ceiling and takes it as a symbol of hope. Late at night, Ahmed returns from seeing his lover, and Anisha confronts him immediately. The couple argues, but their fight is interrupted by an earthquake. They rush to protect their children, only to find their yard damaged by some kind of crash and engulfed in flames. At the same time, Hinata's spaceship is attacked by aliens, leaving the crew stranded in space with no chance of rescue. Meanwhile, Sheriff Tyson, still unsatisfied despite receiving an award and respect, continues to investigate the burnt field. Suddenly, something from the sand attacks and kills him, as an alien ship flies overhead. After the explosion, the family, Anisha, Ahmed, and their kids, retreat to the basement, fearing something terrible is happening outside. Anisha, unable to stand being near her unfaithful husband, decides to go outside to investigate. Ahmed, feeling it's his responsibility, asks Anisha to stay with the kids while he talks to the neighbors to understand the situation. Some neighbors, panicked, are fleeing to other parts of town, while others are suspiciously eyeing Ahmed's house, as it's the only one untouched by the blast. Meanwhile, their son Luke cries out in pain, claiming he can hear voices that no one else can. Ahmed promises to call the police, but Anisha overhears him talking to his mistress instead, offering her support. Realizing they are not safe, Anisha insists they pack up and leave immediately. The family faces a problem. They have the only electric car in the area, a Tesla. Anisha criticizes Ahmed for buying the car, while Ahmed, frustrated, briefly considers leaving his family to be with his mistress. Ultimately, Anisha takes control and drives them away. Casper, a schoolboy in London, suffers from epilepsy. Despite his friendly demeanor, not all his classmates are kind. A bully knocks his medication to the ground, but Casper, used to handling things on his own, brushes it off and goes to the bathroom to take his pills and calm himself down. Later, the class heads out on a field trip. A girl named Jamila defends Casper from the bully, putting him in his place. On the way, the students' phones start glitching, and the bus hits a bump. Jamila notices Casper's sketchbook, filled with beautiful drawings, and expresses interest in him, even offering to listen to music together, which feels quite romantic. However, Casper spots a flock of sheep running away, which triggers an epileptic seizure. The teacher rushes to help him, but then meteorites begin to fall from the sky. In panic, the bus driver swerves off the road, and the bus heads towards a cliff. Mitsuki, missing Hinata who is on the ISS, records romantic videos for her, promising to do so daily. One morning, she receives devastating news that NASA has lost contact with the space station and that global satellites are also down. At the base, Mitsuki frantically tries to restore communication, only to discover that the capsule is damaged. She struggles to accept the reality that Hinata and the rest of the crew might not have survived. Overcome with grief, Mitsuki goes home to cry privately. Her mother tries to comfort her, suggesting that this is God's will and subtly implying that Mitsuki's relationship with another woman is wrong. This comment leads to a heated argument between them. Later, Mitsuki, deeply depressed, goes to a nightclub, where she drinks too much and meets a beautiful woman. In her intoxicated state, she sees the woman as a stand-in for Hinata and they end up together. However, Mitsuki soon realizes she can't betray Hinata's memory and feels deeply conflicted. Trevant Cole is an American soldier stationed in Afghanistan. Despite being in a dangerous hotspot, he tries to keep spirits high, having fun with his comrades during breaks between missions. When he gets the chance to talk to his family, he struggles to find words, resulting in a conversation with his wife that lasts less than a minute. Trevant's team learns that a nearby squad has gone missing and hasn't been in contact. Heading to the area, they find terrified locals who report that the squad was last seen heading to a school. At the school, Trevant and his team discover a collapsed wall and a tornado that seems to have moved into the desert a few kilometers away. They proceed to an old building nearby to investigate. Suddenly, a massive sandstorm-like tornado forms, engulfing the area. The soldiers, unable to see each other, move chaotically and come face to face with something inexplicable. Realizing they are dealing with an alien presence, they open fire, but their bullets have no effect. The alien ship then emits a powerful pulse, throwing the soldiers several meters away. Some time after the incident, Trevant regains consciousness but finds none of his comrades nearby. Wounded and disoriented, he stumbles back to their vehicle, intending to report the situation to their base. However, the navigation systems and radio are down, and the vehicle won't start, leaving him stranded. Trevant sets out on foot, trekking through the desert. As dehydration sets in, he begins hallucinating, seeing visions of his wife. A Bedouin wandering the desert finds him, offering water and medicine. The man tends to Trevant's wounds and promises to guide him to the nearest town. Determined to protect her family at any cost, Anisha drives recklessly, ignoring traffic laws in an attempt to escape the city. However, they soon find themselves in a massive traffic jam, surrounded by thousands of other terrified people trying to flee. As darkness falls over the city, signaling an impending disaster, they stop at a gas station. There, they hear rumors of an attack on Earth, though no one knows who or what is responsible. An argument erupts between Anisha and Ahmed over charging their electric car, a Tesla. Anisha, desperate to safeguard her children, commandeers another vehicle and drives them north. They find shelter at a hotel that night, but tensions flare as Anisha and Ahmed continue to argue over his betrayal. After the bus crashes into a ravine, trapping them inside, Casper and Yamila try to assist their injured teacher. The bully, still resentful, blames Casper for the accident, claiming the teacher was distracted by Casper's seizure. Realizing that rescue might not come, Casper considers climbing out of the ravine but worries about his ability without enough medication. That evening, the bully apologizes and learns about Casper's mother's disability. However, his apology turns out to be a ruse to extract personal secrets from Casper for future blackmail. The bully asserts himself as the group's leader, and Casper, despite the tension, supports him to maintain peace. Meanwhile, Casper harbors feelings for Yamila, who shows interest in him. Mitsuki, overwhelmed by grief and struggling to cope with the loss of Hinata, becomes despondent. Back at the NASA base, she discovers that the government and police are seizing all relevant data. Determined to uncover the truth, Mitsuki steals her supervisor's access card and sneaks into the server room, changing the door code behind her. As security attempts to break in, she reviews footage from the space station and witnesses a catastrophic event destroying it. Focusing on an odd noise in the recordings, Mitsuki processes the audio and hears the word Wajo repeated. The next morning, Yamila and Casper discover that their teacher has died, leaving the group of students completely alone. Tensions rise as the children argue, with the bully trying to assert control. Realizing that they won't be rescued, Casper decides to take matters into his own hands. In a courageous act, he begins climbing the cliffside, surprising everyone with his determination. Upon reaching the top, Casper is shocked by what he sees. The other students, inspired by his bravery, follow suit, retrieving their backpacks from the bus and climbing up after him, believing they can do what he did. At the top, Casper realizes the accident was caused by debris from a Russian satellite. Even more unsettling is the fact that he had drawn this scene in his sketchbook beforehand. The group decides to leave the bully behind and search for help. That night, Anisha can't sleep, noticing Ahmed constantly checking his phone. Realizing he's still in contact with his mistress, she struggles to hold back tears, knowing their children need her to stay strong. The children sense the tension and fear their parents might divorce. Sarah finds a strange black piece of metal in Luke's backpack, but he quickly hides it. The next morning, the military imposes a curfew and special measures due to ongoing attacks worldwide. Cities like Boston and the capital of India are reported destroyed, confirming an alien invasion. Anisha, however, is more worried about Ahmed's mistress, who she suspects might be pregnant. On their way to Canada, Luke asks to stop the car for a bathroom break. While stopped, Ahmed and Anisha argue, and Luke runs into the woods. Later, they find him with a family living in the forest and stay with them overnight. After several days of walking through the desert, the Bedouin guides Trevant to a city where he picks up a signal from a comrade's locator. Following the signal, Trevant finds a hospital and searches the rooms, eventually locating his injured comrade in the basement. The soldier is hiding there because the Taliban believe American troops executed children at a school and are seeking revenge. As armed militants attack the basement, Trevant defends himself, managing to take down several attackers and carries his comrade out, only to realize he's already dead. In the chaos, Trevant notices that not all the Taliban were killed by him. An alien had intervened, killing the rest. Unaware of this, he escapes, still processing the harrowing series of events and the presence of extraterrestrials. Mitsuki faces the threat of arrest for her actions, but Kaika, who is in love with her, steps in to protect and justify her impulsive behavior. Later, Mitsuki visits the father of the late Hinata to offer her condolences and gauge whether he knew about their relationship. Initially assuming the elderly man was unaware, Mitsuki is surprised to learn that he had known all along but chose not to interfere to avoid upsetting his daughter. In Hinata's room, Mitsuki reminisces and shares a recording with her father, knowing he used to work at space facilities and is a knowledgeable expert. As he listens to the strange alien sounds, he observes how they affect the surroundings. He suggests playing the recording on more powerful speakers to see what might happen, intrigued by the potential implications of the mysterious sounds. After fleeing the scene, Trevante returns to the military base only to find it deserted. The soldiers have mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind their weapons, supplies, and personal belongings. Realizing he can't rely on anyone, Trevante attempts to contact headquarters to request a helicopter but finds fragments of a document warning of an alien invasion. He buries his fallen comrade and vows to return home, no matter the cost. Understanding that her family needs food, Anisha decides to stay a bit longer with the kind strangers they've found. To replenish their supplies, she agrees to go to a store, as her cowardly husband prefers to stay with the children. At the store, Anisha finds it ransacked by looters but encounters soldiers who offer food in exchange for her help. Being a doctor, she agrees and heads to a local military base to assist. During a procedure, she extracts a moving black substance of alien origin from a patient's wound instead of stitching it up. The schoolchildren, meanwhile, stumble upon a truck full of food, which brings them joy and relief in their hunger. However, when inspecting the driver's seat, Casper finds the same mysterious black substance but doesn't realize its danger. The kids try to use a radio to find out what's happening, but the disturbing sounds it emits cause them headaches. Arguments break out as some want to continue seeking help, while others prefer to stay with the truck. Casper, the bully, Yamila, and a few others decide to move on. Mitsuki returns to the base and meets with the director. After listening to the recording, she suggests that her friend Hinata might still be alive, having spoken after the capsule's decompression, which should have been impossible. Mitsuki notices that the base staff are not security personnel but linguists. The scientists believe that the aliens attacked the space station and are trying to communicate. The director, realizing that Mitsuki might uncover the truth, allows her to take any necessary equipment to potentially rescue Hinata. That evening, Anisha, Mitsuki, Trevante, and others watch a broadcast from the U.S. president confirming the alien invasion and calling for unity in the face of the threat. After the president's announcement, Anisha and other doctors are tasked with traveling to a neighboring state to assist children injured in an alien attack at a school. Worried about her own children, Anisha abruptly requests to stop the vehicle and decides to walk back home. On her way, she stumbles upon a decimated military squad and tries to commandeer their vehicle but fails. Determined, she grabs a gun and hurries towards her family's location. Upon reaching the house late in the evening, Anisha finds a boiling kettle, a lit lamp, and scattered belongings, but her husband and children are nowhere to be seen. Panicking, she spots a dead dog and fears the worst. Hearing noises, she hides in the closet and discovers a hidden passage to the attic where the homeowners and her family are hiding. They are safe but must remain silent, as the alien is sensitive to sound. Tensions rise between the families when the homeowner's wife insists that Anisha's family leave. The situation escalates when Sarah falls through the weakened floor and screams in pain. Anisha rushes down to her, covering her mouth to muffle the noise. As the alien approaches, they hide behind a door, catching glimpses of its terrifying black silhouette. The creature senses their presence and shakes the ceiling, causing the homeowner's wife to fall through the floor and be devoured. Anisha and Sarah hide in the basement, but they need Ahmed and Luke to join them. Using noise traps to distract the creature, Anisha lures it to the kitchen. Ahmed and Luke come downstairs, but Ahmed naively tries to escape through the front door. The alien attacks him, and Anisha, realizing her husband might not survive, grabs a gun to protect her children. The homeowner hands her the keys to his Jeep but becomes the next victim of the alien. As Anisha drives the Jeep, she crashes into a tree, leaving them stranded and vulnerable. The alien attacks, and in a desperate defense, Anisha uses the strange black object found in Luke's backpack to kill it. They realize the object is effective against the aliens. Despite Ahmed's injuries, the family survives the encounter. They drive away, listening to the radio for updates on how to survive the ongoing alien invasion. Anisha, realizing that the object her son Luke found is an effective weapon against the aliens, tries to learn more about it, but Luke cannot explain its origin or function. Meanwhile, Ahmed stops breathing due to a pneumothorax, and Anisha performs a makeshift chest drain to save his life. The next morning, the family finds a seemingly abandoned restaurant that is still functional, with food, water, and toys inside. They make it their temporary refuge, and Anisha prepares burgers for the family. As they share a prayer for safety, Ahmed feels regret over his affair, seeing Anisha's dedication to their children and his own life. The following day, the family reaches a refugee shelter, where Anisha reconnects with soldiers and doctors she met previously, giving her some privileges. Meanwhile, Travante arrives at a nearby Canadian-German military base, only to find a battleground with dead bodies and scorched earth. He encounters a local family seeking refuge and learns that the base was attacked by aliens, leaving no survivors. With no other options, they decide to head to Kabul, over 300 kilometers away. Showing compassion, Travante agrees to take the family to Kabul, hoping to return to his own family. Upon reaching the Kabul airport, they find that the last departing flight only accepts passengers who can pay. Travante sells his rifle to Afghan soldiers to secure seats for the family on the plane. Casper and the other schoolchildren reach a nearby town but find no means of contacting their parents. They stop a frightened woman driving an SUV, who tells them about the alien invasion, suggesting there is no safe place in major cities. However, the children convince her to take them to London. Once in the city, the group splits up, each hoping to reunite with their families. Casper confides in Jamila about his unusual experiences since the aliens arrived, including hearing their communications during his epileptic episodes. They soon encounter an alien and hide, trying to avoid detection. Meanwhile, Mitsuki, Kaika, and Hinata's father steal equipment and head to a facility housing a massive telescope. They forge documents to gain access and attempt to decode the alien signals. Posing as an expert, Mitsuki asks the staff to analyze the signals extracted from the noise, believing they can establish communication with the alien civilization. They discover millions of similar sounds on the same frequency, leading Mitsuki to hypothesize that a central system controls the aliens, and accessing this system could potentially make them leave Earth. Additionally, Mitsuki finds a distress signal from the ISS capsule, suggesting Hinata may still be alive. Just as they plan to respond to the distress signal, military forces arrest Mitsuki for document forgery and equipment theft. Soon, Travante's plane lands near London. He asks the soldiers for a helicopter or plane to get back to the U.S., but it's not possible due to technical issues. His attempts to get what he wants fail, and he is kicked off the base, with his weapon returned to him. Seeing no way out and with London in flames, Travante calls his wife. He learns from the answering machine that his wife and children have been evacuated, but their current location is unknown. Promising to love her and do everything he can to get back home, the soldier feels his strength and hope fading. Meanwhile, Anisha and her kids are settling into a temporary base, where a doctor who worked with her earlier is flirting with her. At some point, Luke goes for a walk and meets a schoolboy who suggests they go to the morgue to see the aftermath of the alien attack. Ahmed notices that his wife is missing and goes to find her, unaware that Anisha is cheating on him with the doctor who has fallen for her. Not regretting what happened, Anisha goes to find Luke and discovers the family in the morgue. The boy experiments with a black object from his backpack and notices a mysterious connection between it and the alien matter. Mitsuki asks to be released, believing she is the only one who can help establish communication with the aliens. The NASA director on site agrees and puts her in charge, trusting that she knows what she's doing and can achieve the desired results. Using artificial intelligence, neural networks, and other available tools, Mitsuki doesn't achieve the needed breakthrough. The alien language is too complex and mysterious, causing her to lose hope of making contact. In a desperate move, Mitsuki sends the aliens a signal in the form of photos and videos, converting the files into the alien language. A minute later, she hears the word Vio, believing that Hinata is not only alive but trying to communicate with her. Casper and Jamila return home, only to find that an alien has been there, leaving Casper's mother's corpse in a wheelchair. Jamila supports him in this tough moment, but Casper refuses to give up. He reveals that he had visions of the alien attack beforehand and that his drawings and epileptic fits were connected to them. He not only knows how the invasion could have been prevented, but he's also ready to destroy the aliens to protect Earth and the survivors. Rushing to the hospital, the students see soldiers fighting an alien and hide in a nearby bar. There, they meet Travante, who agrees to help Casper after seeing his prophetic drawings. One of the drawings depicts his military unit's patch, convincing the soldier of the boy's extraordinary abilities and giving him hope that they can prevent the apocalypse. A few minutes before making contact, Hinata remembers her first meeting with Mitsuki, which gives her the will to live. She regains consciousness and returns to the damaged space station, sending a signal that Mitsuki picks up, leading to a dialogue between them. At headquarters, there is skepticism. They believe that Hinata couldn't have survived and suspect that the aliens are using her voice. The American military considers using nuclear weapons to destroy the station controlling the aliens, with only 78 minutes left to decide. Upon analyzing Hinata's voice and responses, experts and her father conclude that she's not breathing and that it's synthetic speech created by the aliens. Meanwhile, Travante, Casper, and Jamila arrive at the hospital where Jamila's mother works. While she searches for her mom to ensure she's okay, Travante asks the medical team to induce a controlled epileptic seizure in Casper, believing it could help establish communication with the aliens. As Jamila searches for her mother, Casper is placed in an MRI machine and exposed to stimuli designed to trigger a seizure. Travante offers comfort, drawing from his experience with his own sick children. During the seizure, Casper's brain exhibits unusual activity, alarming the doctor and Travante. It turns out Casper can communicate with the aliens and perceive their movements, understanding their plans and objectives. Learning that several aliens are approaching the hospital, Casper asks Travante to find and protect Jamila. As they try to escape, Travante realizes that the aliens are targeting Casper because of his knowledge of their plans. Travante bravely defends the boy, managing to kill one alien, but they are surrounded by others. At that moment, Casper somehow immobilizes the aliens, demonstrating that he can not only hear their communications but also control them. At the same time, in a laboratory, tests are conducted to destroy the alien black matter. The object in Anisha's hand seems to affect the matter, and it is easily destroyed with hydrochloric acid. With this crucial discovery, the military decides to take Anisha's family to the Pentagon to report the breakthrough, which could turn the tide of the war against the aliens. It seems like the worst is over, and they are headed to the safest place on Earth. However, on the way, armed civilians, angry at the military for not providing aid, attack the convoy and attempt to capture Anisha's family. In the ensuing shootout, the truck overturns, and soldiers engage in a gunfight with the civilians. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ahmed, Anisha, and their children flee into the forest. Realizing they can't escape, Ahmed decides to sacrifice himself, urging his family to run while he distracts the armed rebels. Eventually, Ahmed is killed, and the family reaches a black field that repels the alien matter. Meanwhile, communication with the space station is cut off, but Mitsuki pleads for a chance to speak with Hinata, believing she is alive and aboard the alien ship. To prove she's not an alien, Hinata plays the music they listened to on their first date. Realizing it truly is Hinata, Mitsuki begs the American command to call off the nuclear strike. However, the decision is made that one life is not worth risking humanity's survival. The combined forces launch a nuclear attack on the space station, resulting in a massive explosion visible from Earth. Mitsuki is devastated, believing her love didn't survive the blast. Anisha holds on to hope that this marks the beginning of a peaceful life, while Casper loses consciousness as the aliens perish. After the alien ship is destroyed with a nuclear weapon, the aliens show no signs of life, and it seems like a swift and final victory over the enemy. People worldwide celebrate by taking to the streets, setting off fireworks, and even beating the alien corpses, demonstrating their strength and will to live. This day feels like a global celebration, but not everyone is happy. Mitsuki is heartbroken, knowing that the love of her life, Hinata, was caught in the explosion. Casper's situation is also dire. Travante takes him back to the hospital, where doctors try to revive him. Unfortunately, Casper is only breathing through a ventilator, as his brain is already dead. Jamila plays music for him through headphones and says her goodbyes after he has taken off life support. Mourning her friend and possible love interest, Jamila finds solace in learning that her mother is alive. Meanwhile, Mitsuki, holding Hinata's compass, heads north and encounters a monk who believes the invasion was a test sent by higher powers. Travante struggles with the events, remembering his son who died years ago. He doesn't fully believe that Casper was crucial in saving the world, but Jamila insists otherwise, giving Travante Casper's sketchbook filled with drawings. Seeing the world celebrating the victory and knowing communication lines are open again, Travante calls home, promising to return soon. He contacts his superiors and requests a flight back to the US upon his return. Travante is interrogated as a potential traitor since he was the only one who survived in Afghanistan. Proving his loyalty and honesty, Travante returns home, promising his wife that things will be different and that they will finally be a happy couple. Anisha and her children, unaware that the war is over, continue to be extremely cautious. Finding the spot where Ahmed was last seen and seeing his blood on a tree, Anisha realizes her husband was executed and informs her children. They hold a simple but heartfelt funeral and say their goodbyes to Ahmed before continuing deeper into the forest to avoid the armed civilians who were chasing them. They find a small cabin and decide to use it as a temporary shelter. Through the television, they learn that humanity has won the war against the aliens. However, Anisha is not quick to celebrate. She is convinced that this isn't the end and tells her children they must continue to stay cautious and survive. This cautiousness makes her son skeptical, as he believes humanity has indeed won. The calm and confidence in victory are short-lived. In the jungles of Brazil, a team of researchers discovers an alien ship still operational. One night, Luke, unable to sleep, visits his father's grave to retrieve the black object that repels alien matter. Looking up at the sky, he notices something strange and frightening. At the same time, Mitsuki hacks into a satellite communication station, attempting to re-establish contact with Hinata. Meanwhile, Casper, lying in the morgue, still has a living brain, though the doctors don't realize it. In his subconscious, Casper encounters the father of the late astronaut and receives a compass to guide him home. Travante finds clues in Casper's sketchbook that hint at the aliens' next moves. Suddenly, Anisha, Travante, Mitsuki, and people around the world start noticing remnants of alien ships slowly falling into the atmosphere. It becomes clear to everyone that this isn't the end of the war, but just the beginning. They realize they need to be prepared for what comes next. Will humanity ever be able to live in a world without wars? And what would it take to achieve that? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.